Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. All right, good evening once again, people. How are we? It's 48 hours out from the big steal, eh? Well, that's what most of us would probably imagine after, some of us participating and others of us just knowing and bringing in the evidence of what happened a few years ago there when we did try and run. But a lot of game people are out there running, guys, all right? And there's a lot of people who want to try and make a difference. So I'm trying to get a few of those people on, as we've done. And we're going to do that again tonight. But I'll just run through a couple of things first. We got the Cassowary Coast, guys, Council. We have some gentleman, or I'm not going to call him a gentleman. We have some buffhead, I'll rename him Andrew Graffin, who is the CEO of the council up there. And we're going to cover this tomorrow night, guys. But they, for people who are struggling with rates and that, I've seen the list of houses. They are selling up to 10 properties of people who couldn't handle their rates, etc., or didn't pay their rates for a particular reason. I don't know yet the ins and outs of that, but I've joined the Facebook group and I will find out. But yeah, Andrew Graffin, I think you're going to have a few people writing to you, mate, and certainly in that area we're going to get a few people together, and we're going to stand up against your tyrannical bullshit, because this is just wrong. You know, you guys are just pushing it, you know, as the intro says every night, the New World Order. Well, they think they're going to win, but guess what? They're not. Okay, so here's why your seasonal allergies are worse than last year and how to get some relief. Well, this is a load of bullshit, because I can tell you why your allergies are worse, guys, all right? It's because of the synthetic frequencies, okay, the chemtrailing, the chemicals everywhere else in your food, you know, everything, guys. All right. So seasonal allergies aren't really seasonal allergies. They are just allergies that are brought on by the deep state shenanigans. So East Arnhem Land, guys. Yeah. Long as I remember, the rain's been coming down, eh? Clouds of mystery pouring, confusion on the ground. Well, the whole country's in confusion at the moment. We are getting flooded left, right, and centre. Not so bad here in Wollongong, guys, but yeah, you know, our prayers go out for everyone who was caught in this, what we would call maybe maybe some geoengineered weather. Chaos has erupted. The Teals, we got, the libs going and the Teals are stealing stuff. I do, not that I'm a, great fan of Arby's, but Arby did go out and do a good report and actually got the lady whose husband, I can't remember her name now, but whose husband was stealing all the cornflakes. He went and approached her and she actually ran the federal police on him. So, you can't go and ask questions of these politicians. They just ring the AFP. Now, the Chinese are upset, guys. The Chinese community is upset because there's talk of us taking our port back, and they're not happy about it. So, you're not happy about it. Well, you can go home and use one of your own ports, I suppose. Urgent travel warning for New Zealand, guys, just in case anyone's thinking of going over there. Torrential rain and gales on the New Zealand coast. Planes are grounded, Wellington Airport. More bad weather coming around. When will the rain stop? Well, when the chemtrailing stops and when the bullshit stops, maybe the rain may stop. Okay, let's bring in Caz, and we've got a guest, Tracy Sedman, tonight, who I just found on TikTok and realised that lady is standing on my coastline. What's she going to have to say? And she come out going on about these windmill things that they want to put everywhere. And Tracy, when I spoke to her, we got together and had a bit of a chat. And as I said, guys, it looks like we got good people out there trying to get into a corrupt system and turn it around. So Tracy's another one of those people. She's from the People First Party. Obviously, that's with Rennick. So Tracy, give us a bit of an intro to yourself and what you're trying to do here and living on the beautiful coast here of, where I live. And, we got to save this place because we just don't need the crap that they're coming out with, darling.
Yeah. So I signed up this time round for the federal election to make a stand, to be an extra voice against what's going on with our governments, the Uni Party, both the Liberal and the Labor, to call them out because it's not just one government. It's not just one political party. It's both political parties.
Well, it's the four of them. It's the Teals and the Greens as well. They're all in cahoots.
Exactly. They just take their instructions from the upper level bureaucracy, who has the policies that are handed down by the UN, and then each party just decides how they're going to sell them to the people. But ultimately,
I see, Trace. The Teals are actually the Greens, and the Greens are actually the Reds, or the Blues. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's the way I see it falling in line,
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it's quite easy to join a political party and to infiltrate. And if you get enough people in a political party like the Liberals, it's quite easy to just be pushing for more far extreme progressive policy than something that's a little bit more centre and conservative. So I was a former member of the Liberals, and I did see a rapid change probably between about 2013 and 2020-21.
And that was the prelude of them sucking us into where we are now, Tracy. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of people, I left about 2018, and a lot of people were leaving the party then. We just saw the party fall apart from the inside. Look, I remember going down to Parliament and watching David Coleman's maiden speech. Now, I was on David's campaign for Banks during when Tony Abbott got elected. And when I went and watched his maiden speech down in Parliament House, it was completely different to what we as the Liberals had been selling the people, what he was saying. And I just remember sitting there going, hang on, is this the same person who I've just helped elect into Parliament? And then over the years, I spoke to other people from our same branch and they all had the same feeling, but none of us spoke up. We were all too scared to speak up. So now I've learned not to be too scared to speak up, that it's really important that we do speak up. People, unfortunately, and it's not their fault, are too afraid to speak up. because these days, if you speak up against something that's not progressive, you could lose your job, you can lose friends and family, you're ostracized, and you become an outcast. So people are walking around in my belief, they're walking around in a fight-flight mode. They're struggling to survive, and fear is the one factor that makes it so easy to control people. And that's what's happened.
It's not just that as well. There's this bullying kind of tactics of these people and they seem to think that they're in the majority and they're right. And my experience is that they're actually quite a minority. Like, you've got this situation that happened with this Trumpet of Patriots volunteer today.
Yeah, I saw that video.
Oi!
Yeah.
Cut it out! Cut it out! Yeah, we were built on multiculturalism. Yeah, these ads aren't what Australia is about.
Neither what you're doing.
I can fucking sue you. Go on. And I will sue you. Go ahead. Because I've got all these witnesses.
I've got you on camera of what you did. You struck first.
Can someone follow this guy?
Can we have some police here, please?
At the Uniting Church.
Yeah, it's really shocking. And you are so right there, Caz, is that I have found the Greens, Teals, the left wing is really aggressive, and they will be physically aggressive as well. They won't. I mean, I've had signs stolen here. I've put signs up where I live, and they're taken down the next day, so I stopped putting them up. I've had my I've had people walk past and, spit at my car and stuff like that, because my area is predominantly a Greens area, but I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to be hounded out. And I think that it's really important that, we do take a stand. And this time round, I'm lucky that I can take that stand. I mean, even on social media, the attacks that we get, and I'm not going to lay down, we're told as candidates and, in general, even as a school teacher, not to respond back, not to do this, not to do that. But I think it's really important that we do reply back and do take a stand, because otherwise to sit quietly is to allow it and to say, it's okay. I'm complicit in it.
Why do you think they're so aggressive? I've got my view on this. All right. And I believe that I'll tell you mine first and see if you agree with me. It's because, we know Dutton's been over to Israel, mate, you know what I mean, and spoken to his boss. Okay, so what we've got is this pressure coming down through the line. Now, some of these people are aware of what's going on. Don't kid yourself. They're just like their 200, 300, 400 grand a year they're getting or whatever. Okay, but I think the pressure's coming down because the pressure's being put on that we have to get this, guys. We have to get this. We've already signed ourselves away. You know what I mean? We can't lose because we got nothing to fall back on because we've already signed on the dotted line. You signed your soul.
Yeah. And I know when I went into the ballot draw a couple of weeks ago for the election, there was myself and Libertarians and, everyone from a variety of parties was there. And in front of us was a young guy. I can't think of his name now, but he's from the Fusion Party. So he's running for the Fusion Party in the Senate. And, between 20 or 30, he was uni student. And he was quite arrogant in his approach to John Ruddick, to myself, to other people. And he, he had this fear about him that the world's going to end by 2050. And, I was trying to explain to him, look, mate, I'm a mother. I'm in my 50s. Even John Ruddick said, we heard all this stuff when we were at school in the 70s and 80s, only it was different things that were going to kill us. It was the aerosols that were going to kill us. We said, we're still here. And, I tried to, he had like this high anxiety fear about him. As you said, they've committed to this and they've committed to saving the world, but they don't realize that, most of what they've been taught is just theory and rubbish theory. It's not scientific backed, and they become aggressive. That it's like this for us, as you said, if we don't do these things, we're going to die, and we are the ones that are killing them, and it's just simply not true.
Well, the thing is too, if in Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, it actually states that people will instinctively know that they're being targeted for extinction. So how do we redirect that? So the things like the climate change was born and things like that. So that because people do instinctively know that there is something really wrong, so they're redirecting them into these faux fears,
Yes.
as opposed to the real fear, which is basically you've got tyrannical governments all around the world in lockstep with the web.
Yeah, they've created a fakeness. I remember when I was teaching back in 2010, one of the male teachers came into me and said, oh, we've got to show our students this Al Gore video. And at that stage, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I'd never heard of this rubbish before. And I sat and watched it with the kids and I was like, oh my God, this is just absolute rubbish, and he didn't want to teach it either. So he was kind of like my first mentor of waking up. And I woke up pretty quickly. I pretty much woke up that day, and I've seen it again, when I was, further on, when I was teaching at another school, behind the news and the rubbish that they were pumping in through the classroom to the kids, which I ended up, being a whistleblower on that. They're just trying to get kids to, because, look, I think a lot of it, especially for boys, and I don't mean to be stereotypical or gender specific, but it is what it is. A lot of our young boys, we don't have the manufacturing industry anymore. We don't have the car making industry. Boys love their cars. We know that. Holden Ford, the good old Aussie battle between them. Our boys don't have a lot to do with their hands in terms of construction, and conversation and bonding, especially through school. It's very feminized. So they're trying to find something to bond to and to belong to. So they are getting caught up in this kind of greenies, teals mentality, and think that it's giving them that fight.
That's the indoctrination that they've had throughout their learning and then their universities, you know what I mean? Like we all know, everything that's been pitched is a lie, or most of us do, you know what I mean? And once we can get, I'm so glad that, we're defunding some of these unis, or, they were funded through AusAid, or Trump's not giving them money or whatever, you know what I mean? Great. But we've got to turn this whole thing around because the whole world is indoctrination.
Absolutely.
It's not education, it used to be. Well, it probably hasn't been for a long, long time. But, I mean, we at least had the chance to educate ourselves with the art of debate and the kitchen table and the family. You know what I mean? All that's been stripped away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't talk about politics. Don't talk about religion. Take them out. Well,
sorry, go on, Caz.
No. Just to answer that, I wanted to ask you about the just with what's going on with the Chinese infiltration. But answer that one first, and I'll. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. The indoctrination. Look, it's happening in schools. I'm a former school teacher. I've taught between 2007 up until 2018. I'm still licensed to teach. I chose to leave the system like many teachers. The indoctrination was really bad. We don't teach geography anymore in primary school. It becomes an elective when you get into high school, but if kids don't have that interest in primary school, well, then by the time they get to the high school, they go, what are we learning? We're just being indoctrinated. You're not allowed to debate debates. And debating is really important, because that's where you learn the skills of critical thinking, to ask questions.
I'm always banging on about this,
you go off and research. At a university level, I studied historiography, and that was probably the best subject I ever studied, because it taught me about what's valid research, to go away. Who's funding it is the first question you need to look at.
They were fun, I used to teach my kids when they were young. Mel could be able to remember it, but where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? It was the best game out there for the Xbox and that, and it took you around the world. You had to work out what she was doing, where she was going to go to, and, it gave you the ideas of countries. My kids learned heaps from it, you know what I mean? Because why? At that age, like my eldest is 32 now, so even at that age, you know what I mean, they weren't getting taught what they needed to get taught, because I was teaching them more at home, with the use of games and different things like that than they were ever getting taught at school. So, unbelievable.
we're not teaching kids questioning skills. We're not teaching kids critical thinking skills.
No.
We are, as you said, we're telling them this is what it is. And if they dare question it, well, they're not allowed to question it.
No, well, you get an F for fail.
Yeah, and that's really sad that kids aren't allowed to question, because inquisitiveness is really important.
Well,
be
they're getting that many shots in them now, mate. They're not inquisitive anymore because they're autistic or they're on the spectrum because they've been injured by vaccines. This is another thing we've got to get right onto, Tracy, and we're working hard on that. Terry White seems to be the leader in Australia, but we're cutting him down bit by bit, and we're onto him, but yeah, you're killing our kids, man. If every person in Australia is not just absolutely outraged, now that COVID's come out, the actual fact that it was a bioweapon, they're trying to convince you to give that bioweapon to your children. Then they want to cut you out. We've got this happening in our family now. Get your kids immunized. Go and get their shot, or else it's going to cost you, $139 a day or something. You know what I mean? Is the penalty the government's going to charge if you don't immunize your kids with their frigging bioweapons. It is unbelievable. We got a lot of work to do, Tracy.
Yeah, I mean, I was just reading 2 days ago an article that said, to reduce results in the COVID vaccine, make sure you get the COVID vaccine in the same arm. Yet only weeks ago we had, reports handed up saying that the COVID vaccine, is what they say, that it may not have been safe, and that it was rushed through and all this stuff. So people are getting snippets of information, and it does depend what media you read and watch. And then we have people attacking each other over what media. There you go.
It's fake. Look at this. It's absolutely baffling. I love this word, baffling. So it's baffling because experts are puzzled as to why Haiti has one of the lowest COVID-19 death rates in the world, despite administering 0 vaccine doses. We don't know.
We
do. We can tell you.
It's pretty obvious why. And we come from the era of common sense. Our kids have common sense, and hopefully they're not going to be the last generation to have common sense. But you just sit there going, how could these people not get this? Like, really? Like, the answer's there. They didn't have the COVID vaccine. So, of course, they're going to be much more protected. I know people who have had the COVID vaccine who ended up dying. They ended up with cancers. Me, I'm the healthiest I've been in years. I'm 54 years old, and I have a heart condition, and I'm really healthy. I can't believe how healthy, touch wood, I'm not jinxing myself. But I was taking I can never say the word. The that one, because before the COVID all hit, I suffered like autoimmune symptoms. So I was taking that medication, and I don't take it anymore, and I'm really healthy. I don't get my heart palpitations. And I haven't caught a flu. I haven't caught a virus. Haven't done nothing like that's happened to me. And I'm watching all these other people getting sick.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you who has caught a virus, and that's Rocco from Sydney. So we might bring his clip in because I'll just introduce it first so Tracy knows. Rocco's been doing great work for the last, probably 12 to 18 months, maybe. He's been having a barbecue at a particular park every weekend. It's started to get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Beautiful people, no problem using our local park, which our parks are made for, to gather on a Saturday and enjoy each other's company. Have a look what's happened.
Oh, they've locked him out.
Yeah, Rocco said the other night, guys, they were bringing the fences in, and they just didn't danger tape, guys. They got an excavator in there. They got the fencing up. This is all because Rocco's having barbecues there. Well, you can't have people enjoying themselves, can you?
No, and the lockouts really haven't stopped, have they? I mean, people applying for positions still have to have, they live in fine print. You have to have your COVID vaccination.
Yep.
You have to have, you're being told you have to have these things. It's just coercive control. It's corporate narcissism that's really controlling the country.
And there's this as well. This is really concerning because basically what they're saying is a huge change to the way you bank in Australia and what you need to know. basically when you come down here in the article, it says they can do it by using a pass key, which is their fingerprint, face or mobile device PIN, or by entering their mobile phone number and approving a login request sent to their ANZ app. So they're after biometric, they're really after basically biometric data. That's exactly right. And Madison King has put out a clip stating that Telstra's new terms and conditions have come through and they're asking the same thing.
Yeah, it's really scary what they're expecting us to hand over, as we saw with the social media laws that are passing. You know, people go, well, how do I prove I'm over 16? Well, you've got to hand over your data. But yeah, this finger touch fingerprinting, like, you know, the iPhones and a lot of the phones have that now as well. It's like, what's next? They're going to have our blood in a vial. You know,
already got it.
Yeah. Well, they've got it all from when
they've already got it.
With the
Every
nasal.
time you get tested at a doctor's and that, you know, you are on file, mate. They sell this information. Don't forget, they're trying to target us through blood group and different other things too, these filthy deep staters, you know what I mean? We know what's going on. It's very complicated and involved, but yeah, we know what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's really, really sad watching people so easily give up their freedoms. That's what's really concerning as well, how easy people don't want to ask questions. Like, I'll tell you something funny. During COVID, I flew to Queensland. It was we locked down probably in the second gap when we could fly before the major lockdowns, but you had to wear a mask. Well, I turned up at Virgin. I didn't wear a mask. I hopped on the plane and I was the only person on the plane that wasn't wearing a mask. And no one approached me. I was never approached. I was left alone. I don't know if that's because of the way that I carried myself, or the way that I presented.
Well, I don't know, but every time I went out the door doing stuff like that, with me and Mel racked up 16 grand's worth, mate.
Yeah, I've heard so many people, and I'm like, well, why am I not getting approached? And, you know, I just calmly just went about my business and didn't wear a mask. I traveled to work on the trains without wearing a mask. I did all of that, and I was never, ever challenged. And to this day, I still can't work out why. But, yeah, you know, I was going to, you know, wearing my freedoms on my sleeve, I suppose. And, yeah.
Well, we've got to. And a lot more people have got to start doing it now, Tracy. You know, they know that we're in trouble. Most of the country knows that something smells out there and that things aren't good, you know. Like,
one of the things...
Sorry, go on, Caz.
No, I was just going to say, but one of the things I'm loving about this election is the amount of really good people that are just standing up and just going, oh, I'm not going to take it. I'm not putting up with this. I'm going to have to run. A lot of people that are actually running don't actually really want to run, but they feel that they feel compelled to because they see how seriously in trouble Australia is.
Yeah, look, I look at our own party, Jared Rennick, People's First Party, and if you look through our candidates, we have some really top-notch candidates in there. You know, we've got Dr. O'Neill from Victoria, the cardiologist. Look at Madison King in WA and Jodie Bloom. You know, like she's absolutely amazing. And that takes got to really admire Madison because she's also she's standing up for her culture, but she's standing against what a minority or maybe a majority. I can't speak. She would know that better. You know, she's standing up and saying, this is what it is. You know, we don't have to be victims forever. And, you know, we can do these things. So, you know, that would take a lot of guts. And I'm sure that she would cop a lot of attacks. But you look through our Queensland profile of people and, some of them have only, they've said that, you know, they don't want to be politicians, but they're running because they know that they can make a difference. And just by having that voice and having that extra person, makes a difference. You know, the one thing that that really gets me with a lot of the right wing or centre to right wing politics is, you know, we're all united. We're all saying the same thing. It's not just one person. Every extra voice is another person. Like, you know, you came across me with the wind turbines, and my videos on the wind turbines have gone viral. And for some reason, it attracted the attention of a lot of people, whereas there's been people before me that have been trying to fight this, and they just didn't get the attention that was needed. So, you know, I give credit to everyone who speaks up. It's not just one person, and we all unite. We share our ideas. That's the only thing that's bothering me with kind of like the senator right is people need to just drop some of their egos a bit, because we're going to lose the traction.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, I might just bring this in. This is actually a friend of mine, and he's never done anything political, and this is his third one about the teals. And he's just basically, people just are loving it, how he's doing it. So I'll just bring it in. It's only a short one.
Hi, would you like to have a vote card? Yeah, we're the teals. Look, teals make the deals. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. Have a great day. Hi there. Oh yeah, look, we are all about transparency, integrity and water views. So vote Greens, I mean teals. Whoops, my bad, sorry. Oh hi, would you like a how to vote card? We are the teals, we are all about integrity, transparency and water views, and teals make the deals. So here you are. Oh, I don't know what's got on. Anyway, here you go. I was sent here by the CCP. Oops, my bad. Oops, sorry. I was sent here by my candidate to hand out some of these flyers. Anyway, what was that? I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to call the federal police now. Stay away from me.
That's about it.
So he's never weighed into politics at all, and this is his third video, and he's just an average person like us,
Yeah, it's good that the average person can see it for what it is. I was just reading an article late about an hour before I jumped on here, and it was talking about 69% of people no longer trust politicians, police, authorities, and it's like, well, yeah, duh. They keep lying to us. They're gaslighting us. People are waking up to the fact that they promise us one thing and then deny it. Now, that's going to happen with Penny Wong. If this is true about The Voice, okay, they denied, that she was dropping or putting The Voice back on the table, and now they denied that yesterday. Let's see what happens in 6 months' time when it comes back on. And they put The Voice, if they do go ahead with it and put The Voice back on.
Of course I would have a go, because it's the new world agenda. Until the people stand up and we get enough, like behind us to make the change, they're going to keep steamrolling this stuff in. We know what we're going to do.
Gaslight people. They're going to say, we told you it was on the agenda. And this is where people need to wake up to, you're being gaslighted by your government. We were gaslighted during COVID. All those lies that people were told.
We got a Kiwi in here, Rob McLeod. G'day, bro. How you going? Hope the rain's not too bad. But how legit are your actually voting booths and counts? We had many good voices at our last election in New Zealand, but the count was corrupted. The same guy. It's the same, Rob, all around the world, mate. I done this running for a senator a few years ago, 3 years ago. We got all the evidence, mate. It's the same in every country. They don't want to hear the evidence. They don't want to see the evidence. And we're on for another big stool over here in Australia. So, yeah, Rob, thanks, mate.
Well, and that's the thing, Tracy. We've got videos of ballot boxes being wheeled out and put in personal cars.
Yeah. Look, I have to say, I have seen that myself. I have seen that myself. I was a scrutineer back in one of the elections. I was at I can't think, it was what year it was. It was between 2014 and 2020. Could have been a state election or something, but anyway, I was there, and it was at Hurstville. One of the church community halls at Hurstville, and there was an issue with the lights. Surprise, surprise. And the ballot boxes were put in private cars and were being taken to another area to be scrutinised. So, hand on my heart, I have been there and I have seen that kind of thing happen. So
another thing I've been told, and I believe them, is when this all started coming out, somebody put two and two together and said, when I was doing the handing out, because how they have the 2 weeks in a previous election, she said, I saw this really sharply dressed girl wheeling a suitcase, get out of a car and wheel a suitcase that was chock-a-block in there. And she said, because she looked official and she basically looked like she knew what she was doing, she said, I just never even thought. She said, but now that I'm actually thinking about it, I'm thinking, what on earth was she doing? Because we already had all of the ballots there. There was no need for any more ballots. There were, they already had everything done. So just all of these little things. And plus, the other thing about it is they're cardboard boxes and they were zip tied. Like, what is with that?
Yeah, and I've seen this as a teacher. I saw this kind of stuff happen when kids are voting for school captains and prefects. And, I've seen kids' votes overridden by teachers, and teachers make the choice, or the principal makes the choice in the end, rather than what the kids wanted. So this kind of mentality that it's okay to overwrite the people's choice, it's happening. It's starting in that school zone as well. And people think that it's okay to do that. And I don't think it is okay to do that. So if they think they can do it in school, they don't hesitate to do it when it comes to elections. They feel that they're justified in doing this because it's the right thing to do. They're saving the world. They're saving the planet. They're saving us from ourselves. There's no justification for it. But they do. In their minds, they really think that it's okay in what they're doing. And you're just banging your head against a brick wall when you're trying to tell them that what they're doing is wrong. And if we try to raise these kind of issues in mainstream, we're just called conspiracists, tinfoil hat people. Oh, you're a poor loser. You can't accept the decision. It's just bizarre. I was looking tonight for the when the Senate count starts for New South Wales. So that doesn't start. The election's on the 3rd of May. The Senate count doesn't start until the 6th of May. So where do all those ballot boxes sit? Who's looking after?
We know what's going on. We know what's going on. What we got to do as a bundle of people is stand up as a bundle of people, all right? Because these guys are like crows, mate. They're just murders of flogs. That's all they are, and they're taking us down. So,
yeah, and it's just it's getting the silent majority to hopefully stand with us. I'm not going to say stand up, because I know it's extremely hard for a lot of people, with their jobs and having mortgages and stuff like that. It's really hard for them to kind of put themselves out publicly. They can't attend rallies. They're scared of what's going to happen. But we just need them to stand with us when it counts, which is at voting time. Vote for us. Give us a chance to do it. Like I say to people, go and have a look at my qualifications. And they go and have a look at my qualifications, and they can see that, I'm, I read. The qualifications I have is all about reading, and I will sit there and scrutinize every bit of legislation that would come up to the upper house. I'm not just going to tick off something just because, if my favorite politician voted for it or put it up. You've got to read the fine print, and that's what I would.
It's too true. It's too true. One of the things that I thought we could have a look at just finally is the Golden Grub Awards. Oh my God, this made me laugh. I have to show it to you.
Well, here we are outside the office of Australia's biggest political grub.
That's right, the results are in, and the winner of this year's Golden Grub Award for the worst politician of the year is none other than Anthony Albanese, Prime Minister of Australia.
And to be honest, it wasn't even close. Anthony Albanese was well ahead of the pack with 45% of the vote.
We'll compare that to the others. We had Chris Bowen on 19%, Adam Bant on 15%, Penny Wong on 11%, and Lydia Thorpe on 9%.
When you manage to outgrub Adam Bant and Lydia Thorpe, that's really saying something.
But he is a grub. Like, he was asked a question the other day, are people worse off under his government?
Yeah.
Instead of answering that question and saying yes or no, he's flipped it back and said, oh, well, if you voted Liberal, this is how much you would.
$7,000. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, well, how much worse off are we under you? Now, I can tell you, and I'm not ashamed to say this, and I think, as, a prospective politician, it shows my transparency. So when I moved to where I live now in 2018, my mortgage was $1,500 a fortnight. My mortgage is currently $2,895 a fortnight.
Oh my God.
Silly me, I didn't lock in. Okay, I should have locked in when the signs were there. But I had other things going on that I took my eye off the ball on my, financial, economic.
And that's what they do to us, Tracy. That's not your fault. That's how they create society and what they've done to us, so that we don't have the time to actually look at these things. We don't have the time to do that because they just got us going flat out 100 mile an hour. You know what I mean? And that's
right.
their intent. Yeah.
Exactly right. I was working on, and the stuff that I was working on was quite heavy. So like I said, I took the eye off the ball, and before I knew it, my mortgage is $1,500 a fortnight to now $2,895 a fortnight. It's almost $6,000 a month that I'm spending to live in a house, and it's no castle, let me tell you. And I'm not afraid to put those figures out there because it's reality.
Yeah.
It's the absolute reality, and if people know that I'm struggling too, and this is the exorbitant amounts that I'm paying. So yes, I am far worse off under Anthony Albanese, but this started in 2018. I had it was about 1,500 probably, and below the 2,000, probably up to about 2021, and then it just went bang. The last 3-4 years, it's just taken off.
Well, like we covered last week on the show, our 4 banks here with a population of 27 million people are the most profitable banks in the world.
Yeah, they're making big money of us, and so I really feel the pain of the renters. I feel the pain of I really, really feel it. Like, if my mortgage hits 3,000, it's like, oopsie, where am I going to keep getting this money from?
It's not just that; it's also the amount of homelessness that we've got. We've got a new class of people, which are the working poor. We've got people that have got a couple of jobs and are having to raise their family in tents because they can't afford rent.
Yeah, and then it's even worse when the governments go in and the local councils are bulldozing them and moving them off.
I just said on the intro, 10 houses. We'll cover it tomorrow night. But in the Cassowary Council, good old Andrew Graffin, taking people's. Why don't you talk to the people and try and work something out? I don't know the backs but I can guarantee you, we all know who's wrong here. It's the frigging council because they have no authority and no jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's
how the hell are they able to take somebody's house, steal somebody's house?
I've had a look at the list. We'll go through it tomorrow night. We'll get on the show, but they're all put down as freehold properties. They've classed them all freehold, so they've just taken them, put them on freehold, and now they can sell them.
Yeah, it's really despicable what's going on, and people don't realise until it happens to them. So we do have that bit of Australian apathy that I think we're starting to shake up a bit, where people have been apathetic to paying attention to what's going on until it hits them. And then they're like, oh, I didn't know that. And then it's like, oh, shit, now I have to stand up and do something. And by that stage, they've already lost everything. And that's happening in a lot of systems. Like we're talking about the homeless system now and the home system and the mortgage system. Like, people are out, Albanese is out there going, oh, we're going to have 5% mortgages. That's just a bunch of lies. He can sit there and say that we can make banks do this, but he forgets about the mortgage insurance that's required when you have 5% mortgages. And he can't force the banks to get rid of that. So, you can walk in with a 5% mortgage deposit, but the bank is also going to make you have mortgage insurance, which you're not going to have money to pay for the next 10 years. So you have to borrow that money that gets tucked into your mortgage, and everyone's, oh, look, I can still get it. And then you're paying interest on that mortgage insurance for the rest of your life, for the rest of the life of that mortgage. So they're worse off.
Anita just said here, apparently the UK, well, this is right too. I know this for a fact. The government will pay the immigrants. This is what they're doing, guys. They're doing the same in Australia. I said it last night. Immigrants, their rent and bills, all right, and fix any issues for 5 years and pay the landlord more extra just to get the houses from. What we've been telling you is same with the businesses. Our businesses are going to these Indians and that, guys, because the government's giving them subsidies. As I said the other night, that guy, he spent 20 grand, just, the mainstream, he just spent 20 grand and now his place is being torched. No, it would have been a government grant of 20 grand. And you've probably pocketed 10 and spent 10 because this is what goes on.
Yeah. That's right. And that's why I was speaking out about the offshore wind farms, and it's not just relative to the offshore wind farms, it's relative to all the dirty renewable energy, where these organizations, these companies are only surviving on government grants. It's the taxpayers that, and we have to probably stop saying government grants, and we should call them taxpayers' grants, because that's exactly what it is. It's the taxpayer that's paying for these subsidies. And if we were to take all those subsidies away, these organizations, companies, magnets, they would go away. They would disappear in a heartbeat. So they will just keep on.
We got rid of the lobbyists, and a lot of stuff had moved, Tracy. That's what we got to get rid of, mate. These lobbyists, they're it's just ridiculous. But anyway.
Just we just got to keep talking about it and rise above their rubbish, and just like that Greens today, that's really distressing to watch that poor person.
Well, the thing is, though, Tracy, it's becoming so obvious. Like, that's what I find is it's just so obvious about how much wrong there is, and it's becoming really apparent with a lot of people. People actually starting to pick up on a lot. So, but anyway, look, we usually go for about 45, 50 minutes, but we're being taken out by genitalia, a bunch of parasites. So, Tracy, if you'd like to have some final words, and I'll get Dave to close the show.
Yeah, look, I just want everyone to keep talking to their neighbour, keep talking to their friend, keep talking to their family. Don't give up. We're there. There's a whole lot of people to reach out for support. Let's not make it that we're talking in an echo chamber. Let's become the mainstream, and let's do it with dignity. Let's do it with honesty and transparency. Like I said, I've told how much my mortgage is. Let's do it together, and let's do it united as well.
All right. Well, look, thanks, Tracy. Thanks for coming on. Let's stay in touch. In the Illawarra here, if there's people in the Illawarra, looks like you've got a candidate here that wants to do the right thing for you guys. All right. So let's see how it goes. But 24 or 48 hours to the big stool is what I'm saying, Tracy. We've watched them do it. We think they're going to do it again. But God bless all you people that are out there trying to make change and trying to do something. And we will talk again soon. Maybe get you back. We're going to get a conglomerate of different people that have run after the election and get them on and get your views and that, your post-election views. So I'll get you in on that show. We want to get
that would be great. So. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, guys. Yeah, there's a trigger warning on this film clip. Okay, so if you got your kids there, maybe just give them the earphones or something at the moment. Okay, but this is exactly what these guys are, guys. They're a bunch of parasites, and they're living off your blood. Okay, so thank you very much, Tracy. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me. See you, Caz. See you, Gary. Bye.
Just who the fuck do you think you are? Can't believe you're still Prime Minister. Cause you're such a parasite. And doesn't we'd be just as fucked if we had you? Cause either way Australia's screwed. Cause you're such a parasite. Jesus Christ, don't you ever give up. We've got such a great country and you're fucking it up. How about doing what we're paying you for? Cause we're working our ass off. Working our ass off. Being fucking assholes. Your head's so far up your bum. You can't hear anyone. You're all fucked up. You're a bunch of parasites. Your head's so far up your ass. You can't hear any of us. You're fucked up. You're a bunch of parasites. Elections. You've decided it's time for a vote. Well, both sides are a fucking joke. You're a bunch of parasites.